Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Obtained Mokuton, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down below. And trying to sneak into the village through the walls. The Anbu had immediately surrounded him the moment he landed. Naruto smiled, with hands in the air. The walls were always being watched. For spies and enemies attempting to launch attacks on the leaf. In this world, you always had an enemy. Your power was what kept you free from trouble. A damn crazy world. Yet, Naruto smiled at the thought. He was born in this world. It had threatened to take over him with its madness, but he held firm. Hence, he could smile victoriously. This is some welcome back to the village, he said casually. Uzumaki, the leader of the group, said in a question as if asking to confirm his identity. The one and only. Sure, he had grown up. His hair was much longer, reaching his shoulders, his face mature, and he was taller, his body bigger than the shrimp he'd been. He covered himself with crimson coat with short sleeves. At the back, it had the Uzumaki crest marked in black, the word Uzumaki written below. He wore dark blue shinobi pants, a long-sleeved shirt. He didn't wear a headband, which allowed his hair to fall freely over his cheeks. Taking his word, the Anbu just vanished. They didn't leave trail behind. An envious ability. For the likes of him, to completely disappear was a thing for the dreams. His presence could only be hidden inside a barrier. If he wanted to hide, it could only be in battle. Assassination task. He'd get found out before he even appeared. He was a walking torch. With the Anbu gone, Naruto closed his eyes, faced the heavens with his eyes closed. A silent prayer. He'd come back home. After 3 years of hard training. He'd left as a brat, and now he was a fully grown adult. At last, in his eyes, what awaited him remained to be seen. He looked back at the village. The buildings. The streets. The crowds that gathered along them. Nothing seemed to have changed. Not a damn thing. But that was good. This was the Konoha he'd left. A swirl of winds and Naruto was gone. Short-distance teleportation was a joy. Ever since learning Shunshin, he'd become fond of it. The easier method of traveling. But not so grand as the Nadaime Hokage's jutsu. Made famous by his father. He appeared in the streets. It was broad daylight. The sun was just above his head. The murmurs of people minding their own business. The sound of footsteps. The laughs. The yells. The chakra signatures that moved around the village. Naruto absorbed it all for a moment, while standing still. He was back in this damned village. His home. He was only able to take a couple of steps before coming to a complete halt. In a blur, a very fast blur that nearly caught him off guard, Sasuke appeared on his right side, in midair. His outstretched right hand incased with lightning. The movement was in a flash, with the Uchiha twisting around along with his jutsu. Some welcome. A mistake and he could have a blow on his right eye. Naruto held a single hand sign, while swiftly ducking under the lightning jutsu. It blew just past him, catching his air a little. As he was ducking, a sharp wooden spike sprouted from the ground, sped toward Sasuke. TSK. Sasuke hissed. He should have known he wasn't going to hit even with a surprise attack. Besides, they were in the streets. In this environment, Naruto was going to be on high alert. The moment the blonde had ducked, Sasuke watched. The wooden spike came toward his gut in speed. If he didn't move, it was going to pierce through. No doubt even hit his spine. His left hand moved toward his hip, before disappearing in a burst of lightning. While rising, Naruto shifted his head to the right. A sword slid through just above his left shoulder, piercing through the collar of his coat. It stabbed the wooden spike in front of him. Slowly, Naruto turned around, and faced the stoic Uchiha. He grinned. I should have skewered you, team. As he was saying that, Naruto moved his right hand in behind, touching the spike with his palm. It retreated to the ground, forcing Sasuke to move his sword as well. I should have left you blind, Sasuke shot back, sheathing his sword. Oh, Naruto started releasing an immense amount of chakra with such sharpness that had the street frozen in fear as the villagers felt overwhelmed. The chakra was visible to the naked eye, cracking the very ground he stood on. Sasuke glared sharply. He'd known already that he could never compete in terms of chakra with Naruto. If he had tried releasing his own, it would have been a humiliation. But still, this was just ridiculous. How much chakra was one person supposed to have? Do you want people to start panicking? Sasuke asked calmly, pointing at the civilians on the sidelines. It wasn't just them only, some shinobi were on the rooftop. Naruto blinked once before dropping his chakra. He smiled sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. It is embarrassing having to hear that from you. I'm surprised you forgot your position in this village. You're the same person they hated and feared. You've been gone for 3 years without a word, and when you return, I start attacking you. Naruto whistled. He was surprised Sasuke reasoned like that. If you were conscious of that, you wouldn't have attacked me in the street. Naruto then grinned. Unless, of course, you didn't consider it then, when Sasuke glared. He laughed. Idiots will always be idiots. Says the idiot. Naruto slapped Sasuke across his shoulder, and smiled. It's good to see you in good condition, team. And apparently a little bit smarter. Sasuke glanced at his shoulder. Naruto packed some strength in that movement. He must have been training physically to gain more physical prowess. Not that he needed any. But it was important for stamina. Once more, it wasn't like the blonde lacked any. Happy to see Naruto. Yes. But he wasn't going to admit that. Without the blonde in this village, things were a little dull. He didn't have any other friends. Kakashi was doing missions. He did too, and then just came back to hide, impatiently waiting for a friend to return home. And now, he would have a training partner. Maybe they would do missions together. But there were matters to be resolved. Something that made him bitter and a little angry. It wasn't the first time he was seeing Naruto since he departed. No, he saw Naruto about a year and some 8 months ago. It wasn't in circumstances he would have liked. I need answers, Sasuke demanded. Naruto sighed. He should have expected that this would welcome him upon his return. It was most likely the reason Sasuke even attacked him like this. He turned around, rubbing his belly. I'm hungry for ramen. You're not going to get away from this. I want answers. Naruto, a curious eyebrow. Demanding as always. He did owe an explanation, but not in the way that Sasuke was going at it. I just returned, Sasuke. I haven't had something to eat. Something that isn't cooked by me. Now, I want to get me some ramen, then I will talk to you. You got a problem with that? Sasuke stared for a moment and then frowned. Once more, he was losing it. He sighed. Fine. He grunted. Flashback alarmed. No, not quite. If this was the first time Naruto was seeing Itachi suddenly appear in front of him, he would have been. This was different. Though he was a little wary. Yet happy at the same time. It had been 6 months since he last spoke to a person. These days, he woke up and trained. Went hunting for food and then went back to training. Even talking to the Biju within him seemed like a good idea these days. Not being able to talk to anyone was getting to him. He'd even tried to gather the attention of the Anbu watching him, but the bastards flat out ignored him. True to what Jiraiya had said, they would only come to him if he seriously needed help or when there was an emergency. Thinking of them, why weren't they moving now to deal with the Uchiha? His eyes sharpened. He was ready to take a stance. Launch an attack and then flee. But he shook his head. Should I be worried? The Anbu are fine. Just resting. Naruto was silent for a couple of moments before nodding. My location here is hidden. Nobody but 3 people not here should know. And neither would have said anything. I was summoned here so you could not come here without one of them telling you. That left some uncomfortable questions. So uncomfortable felt he shouldn't have asked but rather just demanded what the Uchiha wanted from him and just continue with his business. If my organization knows. If your organization knows, then you're here to try to capture me. At which case, I will defend myself, said Naruto sharply. But if the subject is about Sasuke, someone told you. Which would raise some serious questions given that you're a S-ranked criminal. Itachi didn't offer an immediate response. A lot of questions. He couldn't exactly tell Naruto that he had been given his location by the Sandaime Hokage. Who would even think the blonde was even at this location? The Akatsuki didn't know, yet. I came to talk about Sasuke. We spoke before. I don't think I want to indulge you since you don't want to indulge me. This was going to be a little difficult. But Itachi wasn't going to give anything away. You consider Sasuke your friend and you understand he is at a point where he can betray anyone for power, including Konoha. At this rate, Sasuke cannot win a battle against you. For Konoha, it is important to have the Uchiha. To have the Sharingan. He cannot even kill me without the same eyes as mine. This is why I have come for you. Don't you want him to achieve his dream of killing me? If he does so, he would be much easier to influence. Baiting him with such talk. It was fine. Naruto could permit it. As long as it was something Itachi wanted to do that would help Sasuke. You obviously need my help, which is why you came here. I'll help, but answer me. You're painted as insane in Konoha. Power corrupted you. But you look and sound perfectly sane to me. So, Itachi Uchiha, what could have driven you to do something so heinous? So evil. You not only killed the same people who gave birth to you, you killed children. Innocent lives that had yet to even understand what wrong is. You killed them, yet only leaving Sasuke. Why? I left Sasuke so that he may avenge the clan. Itachi's expression didn't change as he thought of the look on his mother's face. He did what needed to be done. He'd already lived through many nights after the act. As for my actions, I have my reasons. The Kyuubi has a very interesting ability. It can sense negative emotions. If I'm clothed in its power, I can tell if you are good or bad, even if you hide your killing intent and put on a stupid smile. But I cannot sense even a little of negative emotion from you. Which is strange, considering, Naruto said in a hardened tone, eyes sharp. He then did a 180 and smiled. How can I help you? I want Sasuke to have the Mangekyo. Given his hatred for me, he cannot awaken it by killing me. Unless, of course, someone decided to tell him the truth. But Itachi didn't want to take the chance. But if he killed you, unwittingly, his regret and grief would awaken it. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Are you asking me to die? No, I'm going to fight Sasuke. He will be at his most vulnerable when he cannot even use his Sharingan. In that point, I will give him an opening. He will go for the kill, and that is when I will switch places with you. I'll take a hit that will kill me. I love Sasuke, but not that much. I'm told you have amazing healing abilities. And if you can see the attack coming, you can avoid a fatal attack. Sasuke only has to hit you, touch your blood. I will take it from there. Genjutsu. Yes. Why don't you just do it from the start? He might realize it. But if he strikes you, he cannot deny his own feelings. Besides, your blood will be on his hands. I will use Genjutsu to make it look as if I burnt your body before attacking him. This should give you an opportunity to heal. That is a risky gamble. I might die. I cannot even trust you. Your plan will require me leaving this place. Well, I can get the toads to summon me somewhere else. Flashback end. Naruto couldn't stop his drool as Ayami brought a large bowl of miso ramen. He wanted all the flavors. He should get a bowl of pork after this one. He clapped his hands, the chopsticks in between, and then said his prayers before dishing it. There was no savoring. He didn't even notice the look of disgust in Sasuke as he devoured his meal. The next one was already in front after the second was done. It was only when he was on the third that he spoke. How long have you been back? A couple of months. I thought we'd return around the same time. I wasn't done with my training. Naruto paused. What was it? The order had come, but he'd asked for more time to finish a couple of things. Is he still alive? Shouldn't you be telling me that? You're the one who seems to have some connection with him. After all, you plotted with him. Naruto shook his head. He came to me and I agreed to help because this was good. Even if I had to take some risks. I haven't seen him since. I thought you'd have gone to hunt him. Sasuke glared at his own bowl. I really thought I'd killed you. He told me you were dead because I was weak. And then proceeded to torture me over it. When I came to, he was gone, and it was just your blood. Only a week later, when Kakashi-sensei came to visit, did he let me know you were alive. But wouldn't tell me anything because he didn't know. I concluded you were working with that man. Like I said, he came to me and I agreed to help out. You're not going to thank me. Thank you. Sasuke scoffed. I thought I'd killed you. Naruto smiled, a small sad smile. I'm happy that you consider me a friend, Sasuke. In any case, I thought you'd have already gone out to hunt him down. Sasuke let slip of a slight frown on his lips. I'm still looking for him. And since he is in the Akatsuki, he is surely to be with his partner. I can't go in alone. I need you to handle the partner while I make that man pay for his crimes. Well, Sasuke had certainly grown. He was level-headed when talking about Itachi. Surprising, given his reactions in the past. Welcome. Yes. An important part that surely would do him favors in the future. You do know that the Akatsuki is the same organization that is reportedly hunting Jinchuriki. I spoke to the Sandaime Hokage about it. Sasuke replied. The main reason we were sent away was to deal with the danger. I know I'm ready. I don't know about you. But no doubt if you'd been refused that opportunity, you would have just left the village. Naturally. Nothing is going to stop me from avenging my clan. I suppose we are different in that way. Them again, I never knew my clan. So I can't be hell-bent on revenge against those who destroyed my home. Naruto said in a sad tone. He would have most likely grown up in Uzushio if his mother had seen that the situation here was bad. Brought up in the ways of the Uzumaki. They understood sealing. His clan has been used by this village as hosts for the Kyuubi. His clan wouldn't have seen him as the Kyuubi. But that too, he was robbed by circumstances that occurred way before he was born. Kakashi-sensei told me about your clan. I found it ridiculous that you came from such a clan when nobody even knows about it. Naruto laughed bitterly. That is the frustrating part. The Uzumaki symbol is worn by shinobi and they may not even know its history. Well, forgotten relics are just what they are. Relics of the past that nobody wants to know. And you're fine with that. If I were you, I'd be mad. True, the Uchiha founded this village with the Senju, but throughout the Senju have always been friends with the Uzumaki. The clan crest in shinobi clothing is symbol of that. Not to mention, your mother was specifically brought to this village just to be a Jinchuriki. And who thanks you for it? People are thankless. I've accepted that long ago. When you think like that, you become just a bitter walking stick. Unable to move on, see the future because you can only hate. I cannot make myself miserable like you, Sasuke. I'm not miserable, says the guy who has no friends. Naruto's tone was sharp. How is our former teammate anyway? Fine, a little less annoying. But she has improved. I'm sure you'll be impressed with her. Yet, the Uchiha displayed no outward emotion. His voice was just flat. Coming from you, I'll take it. I'll help you. Just to see what life will be like after you've achieved your dream. Naruto then stood up. Well, I need to report to the Sandaime. I'll see you around. Come in. Maybe Hiruzen was a little too excited, but how could he help it? He hadn't seen Naruto in 3 long years. He only received reports from the Anbu. Even Jiraiya hadn't bothered coming here. He only sent reports. Then again, there was a lot occurring that needed investigating. Too much that could threaten the peace of this village. One could only enjoy peace as long as it lasted in this world. When Naruto stepped into the office, he smiled happily. The blonde had truly grown. His body structure, his sharp eyes. They were not cold, but sharp. The longer hair that covered both sides of his face, almost hiding it. He certainly did feel powerful. It was necessary. For the challenges that lay ahead needed him to be powerful. Not just for his sake but for the sake of the hidden leaf as well. Naruto, my boy, you really have grown. I didn't expect you'd have grown this much. Hiruzen exclaimed happily, resisting the urge to get up and hug the boy. It turns out, physical training builds up body muscles. And it also helps when you're eating the right food. The aim was to be fit and proper. To be able to handle the power within him. You have shrunk, a little. Hiruzen chuckled lightly, stroking his chin. I'm old. I shouldn't even be sitting behind this desk, but there is no one to relieve me. A pity. But I don't think this village would ever be the same without you as its Hokage. You've been present for so long. Naruto tried to sit down, but the third raised his right hand. Can we take a walk? I've been cooped up in here and would like to get some fresh air outside. Why not? Naruto replied with nonchalance. Soon enough, they were in the streets. The aged Hokage in his red and white robe, hands folded behind. He welcomed the greetings of the villagers with a warm smile. It was a familiar thing to Naruto. The third has always been respected by the villagers, even when they've often questioned his decisions. Truly, his loss would even be greater than the loss of his father, on an emotional level at least. Some grew with the old man as Hokage and now they had kids of their own and the old man still led. Your father garnered much love and respect, but even then, when I decided to make him Hokage, the villagers grumbled. They claimed he was too young to lead. Naruto was honestly surprised to hear this. He thought people would have rejoiced at the thought of the yellow flash becoming their Hokage. To be Hokage, you really had to be accepted by the people. It was the people you were leading after all. The majority did support him, and soon enough, they welcomed the change. It was a pity, his reign was cut short. Admittedly, I didn't want him to become Hokage then. It was that we had lost too many people in the war. When I called an end with Iwa when we were in a position to destroy the village, some claimed I had lost the plot. I decided to resign because of it. What was the purpose of this talk? The demands of being Hokage. Naruto had never thought about it that deeply. The Hokage is one who can be accepted. Nonetheless, it is possible to take it by force. The villagers do not decide who becomes leader. It is decided for them. But once you become leader, anything else becomes secondary. Your main focus becomes the village and fulfilling your roles. I admit, things with my own family have not been always good because of my duties. You hardly have time for home. And so often, you must make the decision over who you must send out to die. You make those decisions daily. When I send you out, I know there is possibility you might not return. This world is not fair. Just because you're kind, it doesn't mean everyone will be kind. People will take advantage of you. Naivety makes many fall into holes. I was a victim of this myself despite my experiences. If you ever want to be a leader, you must think of this, Naruto. You must realize that it is not about you, but the whole village. Everyone looks at you for decisions. You can't be indecisive or else everyone will fall along with you. Naruto stared at the road ahead. The old man was speaking in a slow yet firm tone. Just so he doesn't miss a damn word. He knew where they were heading, the memorial stones. It seems that you carry a lot as Hokage. I may have looked at it differently. Then again, when you're sitting at the other side of things, there are some things you cannot see. Indeed, I'm not going to ask. But I'm telling you that you may consider this no matter what you decide for your future. Aren't you just saying that because you want me to aspire being Hokage? Hiruzen smiled. Perhaps. I consider it would be the only thing that cements your place here. But to get there, you would have been accepted and found a place in the hearts of the villagers. That will take some doing. But not impossible. Naruto sighed. I'm not really thinking about that. I just want to find happiness for my life. But who knows what the future holds? Nobody really knows. No matter how powerful you are, don't ever think it is predictable. It will be your downfall, Hiruzen said. He then changed the subject. I'm told you've learned a bit about Fuinjutsu and controlling the power of the Kyuubi. Naruto nodded. I thought it would have been a shame for me to be an Uzumaki who doesn't know anything about Fuinjutsu. I don't know much. But just barriers. When it comes to the power of the Kyuubi, Jiraiya was insistent. He claimed my father wanted me to use the power, that was why he sealed the power inside me. Hence he made a key to unlock the Kyuubi. Hiruzen had worried about Naruto when Jiraiya told him of his decision to release the Kyuubi. He'd been afraid of the Biju going loose. They arrived at the stones and Naruto did as he did last time. He settled down, with his legs folded. Hiruzen did the same. Do you mind if I smoke? Naruto shook his head. Hiruzen took out his pipe. A quick fire jutsu and he lit it up. Is it secure? Naruto laughed at the thought of the Kyuubi breaking free. He could imagine the panic. It wasn't funny. But he still laughed. Perhaps it was the bitterness. Yay. There is another, safe, I created. But you truly cannot use the full power without its cooperation. Naruto said with a sigh. The best thing is that you can use it to compete with other Jinchuriki. You were the only Jinchuriki who could not use the power of your Biju. And that had put us at a disadvantage. Hiruzen paused, adopting a thoughtful look. How was your time away? Fruitful. I missed friends. I missed being around people. People who care for you. Sasuke was mostly likely the person who missed you the most. Hiruzen replied with a chuckle. He kept asking me when you'd return and if he couldn't go join you. Naruto laughed hearing this. He couldn't imagine Sasuke doing that. But it was understandable. It serves him right for being unlikable. He made a choice not to make friends. And he pays for it. And he could have made friends. It would have been easier for him. Hiruzen shook his head with disappointment. But that was the path Itachi set. Perhaps he'd not thought of it deeply. Do you think Sasuke would ever turn on this village? Naruto stared at the stone for a long minute and then adopted an expressionless mask. You're not the only one who has asked me that question. If I was stupid, I wouldn't notice what isn't said. Itachi has said something similar. It is not whether he would betray the village but rather whether he will turn on the village. It seems to me like there is a reason he would turn on Konoha. Looking underneath, he seems grown now. But Sasuke is prone to anger. He has been filled with hate for long. There is a possibility that if he stops hating his brother, he will find something to fill that void. He doesn't even think about reviving his clan. He only thinks about killing his brother and nothing after that. That is my concern. I'm sorry I have to put you in this position. But if you had to choose between him and Konoha, what would you choose? What is right? Are those the kind of decisions you have to make? Hiruzen smiled bitterly. Yes. But in my old age, there was a time I refused to make decisions and allowed others to do so for me. Naruto released a long breath. He just came back and already, he was pushed to this situation. This world is as bad as I've seen it. I really hate the shinobi world. It has truly corrupted my way of thinking. Naruto said in a flat tone. Many have been corrupted. It is certainly not the kind of world the Shodai wanted. But to change human nature seems to be something we cannot really do. The Kage are powerful but feudal lords are more powerful. We always need their support. Shinobi villages primarily depend on financial support from the feudal lords. If the feudal lord demands, we can be forced into war with another village. The Earth feudal lord is an example for this. In the past, he has ordered invasions on neighboring countries because he wanted to expand his power. The shinobi system, well, this has been enlightening. Naruto thought the Sandaime felt he needed to understand this world before he moved. Perhaps this was the right time to talk. Once he starts moving, his name will revolve around the shinobi world. There will be interests. For whatever dream he had, understanding how this world works was important. As if reading his mind, the Sandaime spoke again. You have trained to become strong. I thought it was important you understand this much. I don't want you moving blindly. I've hidden much from you. But awareness in your part helps you make better decisions, for your sake and those around you. I thought this was better than just smiling, expressing happiness over your return. I appreciate it. To walk blindly means falling into traps that could have been avoided. There will be a lot that I will be doing. I'm glad. Hiruzen sounded relieved. But there is more. What? The Fire Lord has learned that there is a son of the Yellow Flash. He was a fan of your father. He sent me a message demanding to know why this was kept from him. He says that the loss of the Yellow Flash and the Uchiha left the Fire Nation looking weak. The Lightning and Earth now claim the top spot. Why don't I like the sound of that? He wants to use the fear of the Yellow Flash to elevate the status of the Fire Nation. Now that you have returned, it is going to come out. You're likely to be summoned to the capital. Hiruzen put a hand on his shoulder as he stood up. It is only going to be dangerous for you. Enemies of your father might come. Those with irrational fear might come. Remember, it was the mention of his name that had men trembling in fear. Iwa went to the drawing table and called it truce because of him. If you're his son, people will naturally think you know the jutsu that made him feared. You're not going to ask. Hiruzen shook his head. I don't have the right. I know the Anbu didn't see everything. You did hide under a barrier when doing some training. You're allowed to keep your secrets. In his sleepy eyes, Naruto went toward his door. It was just about 7 p.m., but he was tired. A long day. Arriving at Konoha, cleaning the house. Perhaps even the tiredness of the past 3 years was getting to him. When he opened he found Ino standing there, hands folded across her huge rack. She couldn't mistake her. She had grown in all sides. But most especially, her chest. Naruto almost laughed. He'd never thought of such things before. He blamed Jiraiya for making him read his perverted books. Admittedly, they'd been the only things that kept his mind away from training. He smiled, now awake to the presence of the girl before him. My, Ino, you look beautiful. And you've grown the right way. He said, not staring at her bust but into her eyes. Ino moved closer and then drove a punch into his gut. Naruto felt it. If he hadn't been fully awake at seeing her, he now was. She was glaring at him. He knew why. But it was surprising that she hadn't said a word. She was hardly the silent type. He smiled. I guess I deserved that. Damn right you did, Ino exclaimed. I should have hit you harder or just gone for the family jewels. Naruto took a step back from the door and then became serious. You don't play like that, Ino. And you don't just leave the village without telling your friend. I could understand why you didn't tell Sakura, but me. She was shouting, frustrated and angry. Naruto took the time to think. He could imagine just how frustrated she must have been. Coming to his house and not finding him. After a week she would have asked Sakura and maybe realized he was gone. In fairness, that Sasuke too was gone should have been a hint. But maybe because he hadn't said anything and she knew his difficult position, she'd not thought so. Was it hard? Of course it was. I was worried that something might have happened to you. My dad wouldn't say anything. He said he didn't know anything and seemed genuinely surprised. Even Kurenai-sensei was surprised. I couldn't ask the Sandaimon, sir. I only learned from your sensei that you'd gone away for training. He wouldn't have broken any rule if he'd hinted to her that he was leaving. Truly, he didn't think of her. Or how she would feel. Perhaps he'd not put their friendship in the same value as she did. But now he realized just how much she valued their friendship. He smiled apologetically and spread his arms wide. Come to me. If I didn't miss you, I would move over such an invitation. She said that as she walked over to him. He wrapped his hands around her, pulling her closer. She smelled nice. And felt warm. The body of a woman. I'm sorry for not telling you anything, Ino. I'm sorry you worried for me. I missed you, you know. Ino replied in a quiet tone, still held up in his arms. He was warm. His broad shoulders held her place. She could almost stay like this. He had certainly grown into a good young man. Before her thoughts could wander, Ino pulled away and stared into his eyes. Those clear eyes that seemed to hold some mysteries. Yet so sharp she couldn't hold the stare. I was going to sleep, but let us go somewhere and catch up. He smiled broadly. For I too have missed you, Ino. I'd like to catch up with all the latest gossip. She folded her arms, puffed up her cheeks. Who said I know any gossip? It's okay if you don't. I think today I can do with just staring at you. Don't say things like that. You'll make me uncomfortable. Naruto laughed. Says a person who almost blushed. He paused, leaned over as he whispered, but really, I wouldn't mind staring. You're pleasing to the eye. If I had known, this is what welcomed me, I would have sought out for you the moment I returned and lock you up in this house for some quality time while watering you. Ino allowed her mind to wander about the watering part. She fought off a blush and quickly turned away. I know a good place. Hi, Naruto said casually. He closed the door behind and made sure it was locked before following Ino. She led him into a barbecue restaurant. No doubt, the kind of place she visited with her teammates. She could imagine Chuji sitting here, frying his meat, chewing and uttering words at the same time. Different from when he was eating chips where you'd only hear, munch munch. They were settled by a corner. The adults were eating and laughing while drinking. Ino was staring. Shouldn't it be the opposite? He ignored her, looking at the heaters that in a couple of moments would be making that sound, steam rising as they cooked their food. He'd missed such moments. No, to be out. He didn't have many of them in the village with his teammates. He did have those moments with Sasuke. But never like so. So close, cozy and perhaps personal. This was Ino with him. A girl. This was truly a foreign land for him. It came with growing up. So, what did I miss? I want to hear about you. You don't seem to have changed. The only thing different about your personality is your gaze. I can't mention that you know how to speak to a girl. Naruto chuckled lightly. Know how to speak to a girl. He'd always known how to talk to people. To do it better was merely considering how they would feel to what you would say, taking into account their personality. With a foreign person, it was a difficult task. He could comment about her bust and Ino wouldn't take offense, but for Sakura, it would be. And he couldn't say the same to Kurenai. To her, he was probably still a child, and even if he was an adult, she wouldn't permit such remarks. I spent the last 3 years in an island, Ino. There was nothing for me to do aside from training, sleeping and recovering. And then, hunting for food. There was no one to speak. Only Jiraiya came to visit every now and then. Ino stared at him. She didn't say anything as their uncooked food was brought before them. Ino had ordered a bottle of sake. Immediately, she went straight into putting the meat into the pan, to start cooking. She opened the bottle and then poured for both. Are you serious? Naruto nodded. A rather lonely time. I would have appreciated it if you came with me. Ino scoffed. Lies, she exclaimed. You didn't beg me to come with you. You just disappeared without telling me anything. You're not going to let that go, are you? Who knows? You might just disappear again tomorrow. Naruto sighed. He summoned a bottle similar to that of Ino. He didn't enjoy drinking, but he had been given some alcohol by the toads. He had ended up training in their world after being summoned to speak to the sage. An interesting conversation that had been. So, how has your life been? You started dating yet? What about your career? Dating? No, I haven't met anyone I liked, Ino replied in a quiet tone. Besides, no one in our age group has started yet. Well, at least I haven't missed much. I became a chunin, Ino said proudly. Naruto clapped his hands. Well done, he said happily. We are of the same rank, now. Who outranks me? Sasuke, Neji, well, no surprises there, but it is a bit insulting that the Uchiha will have seniority when we do missions. Let's not talk about your girlfriend, Ino said before taking a sip of her sake. Naruto laughed. Don't say such things, Ino. You know I don't swing that way. I can show you if you want. Ino felt a chill down her spine. His eyes told her he was serious. A mischievous part of her wanted to dare him. If she was dealing with just anyone, she would have broken ranks. But this was Naruto. He was just as daring. Besides, she just wanted to talk to him. She didn't care if it took all night and became drunk in the process. What are you drinking anyway? Something hard. You'll get wasted soon if you try. I can take care of myself, Uzumaki. Naruto smiled and poured for her. She then took a sip and then grimaced before trying to hide it. He was almost pitiful, you know. We sat one day and even thought of inviting him over for a get-together. Without you, he was just lost in the village. I'm surprised Sakura didn't drop everything to try to marry him and cook for him. Ino giggled. It isn't like she didn't try. You're kidding. Her feelings have not changed a bit. She has become a good kunoichi. Admittedly, better than most of us, but when it comes to Sasuke, she is still the same little girl. Naruto shook his head. Perhaps she really loves him. In an unhealthy way. Naruto shrugged. Love is love. People have different ways of expressing it. Oh, how do you express it? Naruto motioned for Ino to lean over. She did so and he whispered something into her ear. She quickly pulled away, her face flushed over. She coughed a bit, as if she was choking on her food. Naruto laughed at her reaction. How cute, he said. For someone who was living alone, you've filled your mind with dirty thoughts. One can be creative. Naruto shrugged. It didn't take long for the alcohol from the land of the toads to kick in. He had warned her. The staff was made for the stomachs of talking animals, not a person. The things that made humans drunk couldn't even do a damn thing to a fully grown toad. A small bottle for him would maybe enough for him to start noting that he was drinking, but for a toad, that was not even enough to dilute the saliva in its mouth. When Ino started slurring her words, Naruto didn't permit her to continue talking. She was going to end up saying things she wouldn't if not drunk. He would rather not have that. Maybe if he too was drunk. It would make things fair. He knocked her out, and watched her fall over, sound asleep. He continued eating for a while before calling it quits. He picked up the girl and put her on his back. Good thing he knew where she lived. It would have been bothersome. He didn't want to take a drunk teenage girl into his house. Her gate was locked. A clone appeared in a puff of smoke before jumping the fence. A couple of minutes later, the man he recognized very well opened the gate. Inoiki had been asking him questions after his return to the leaf. The man had a rather stern look on his face. Inoiki-san, Naruto greeted respectfully. She came to my house and we went to catch up. She got a little too excited, he explained lightly. Inoiki just sighed as he took the girl from Naruto. Thank you for bringing her back home. Of course, Naruto said, and then disappeared along gusts of wind. Inoiki shifted his eyes toward Ino and then walked into his home, wondering what he was going to do with her. Well, at least Naruto was a good boy. He had brought her back home after all. Having been around for long, Inoiki knew that boys didn't do that. The following day it really wasn't funny seeing Sasuke at his doorstep, but Naruto couldn't help himself. Nobody told the Uchiha that he couldn't make friends. He had chosen the life of being a loner and he had to contend with it. Not just appear in other people's houses early in the morning because he was bored. You had to sleep in the bed that you made and you couldn't drag other people with you. What do you want? Sasuke stared at Naruto for this kind of response. He knew when he was not being wanted, but he wouldn't just leave. This was Naruto, so he could ignore any form of complaint of his presence. I haven't had anyone to challenge me since I awakened my Mangekyo. I was hoping you could indulge me. Indulge? Such a word came from Sasuke's mouth. He wasn't being forced, but he was being asked. It was really funny and sad at the same time. He almost pitied the Uchiha. Surely, he did want someone to fight with him to test his powers, but it may also be that he just missed training with him. Naruto didn't feel like crossing paths with Sasuke. He honestly would rather sleep. His body wasn't steel. It was flesh and blood. He needed his rest. Are you that bored? He asked with an expressionless mask. It is not a matter of boredom. I just want to make sure I am ready before I go to face Itachi. You should know if you're ready or not. My strength and Itachi are nothing alike. You should really make friends, Sasuke. If you feel that you don't have anything to say to those in our group, I can understand that. You can make friends with Anbu. They are more of your type. Do you want to or not? No, I'm tired. I just want to enjoy my peace before I get busy. Besides, what the Sandaime had said, his immediate future required a clear mind. He needed to think things carefully. He needed to prepare himself to deal with the hyenas in the fire capital. There was no doubt he was going to be summoned once the Sandaime stops with the pushing. While it would make him famous, it would also make him a target of hunters who enjoyed exchanging people's heads for bounty. Are you that afraid of facing me? Naruto laughed. It was a mocking laughter that made Sasuke's glare intensify. I've never been afraid of facing you, dear Sasuke. Surely you have improved, and I will grant you that. But don't confuse things. Go to missions if you're bored. I want to rest. I just came back from 3 years of non-stop training. Sasuke was silent for a couple of moments before grunting. I've done 1 or 2, but it's nothing when I'm alone. Would you join me if I requested one? Yes, but not now. Give it a few days, will you? Naruto released a long breath. I also want to go out and get my body checked. Just to make sure I'm perfectly healthy. Is there something wrong? Nothing. I've just had a couple of accidents that were healed quickly. I want to make sure there was nothing outward about it. Sasuke nodded and then hesitantly turned away. Naruto sighed. You really look like a stray dog, he said. Come in, he said, opening his door. Don't treat me like charity. Are you coming in or not? I don't have all day. I'll come back later. You said you wanted to go to the hospital. I have a couple of things I want to do myself. Sure, that's not your pride. Sasuke didn't respond, he just departed. Naruto shook his head as he closed the door behind. Now, that was just sad, he said, closing the door behind him. Sakura had rushed to examination room 26 with a chat at hand. She'd been told that her former teammate was in the hospital. An appointment had been made. That Naruto was back in the village had spread like wildfire. There was nobody who didn't know. She had come to realize that he was likely the only person everyone in the village knew and could recognize. You didn't have to mention his name, just his description, and it would be followed by, oh, him. She stopped by the door, her heart thrusting with slight chest pains. She hadn't seen him in years. She was apologizing to him the last time they spoke. After a moment, Sakura steeled herself and walked into the room. She didn't see anything she was expecting to see. He was different. From head to toe. She smiled nervously after meeting his stare. She didn't know whether to show excitement or not. Or how he would respond to her smile. Oh, Sakura. Naruto paused, staring. He then smiled. Been a while. Yeah. She didn't get closer but held the clipboard close to her chest. You work here. She nodded and then took a step closer. Managing a smile, she said. It is good to see you, Naruto. I'd honestly missed you. Naruto wasn't going to lie. He wasn't going to say he wouldn't believe it based on evidence of the past. It is good that I came here then, he said, smiling. Well, get closer. Sakura looked at the clipboard, reading what Naruto wanted. Can you lie on your back? But please take off your shirt first. Had it been someone else, he would have quickly made a cheeky remark. Maybe in the past as well. But he really didn't feel like it. Seeing Sakura didn't actually make him happy. Nor sad. He was just indifferent. Perhaps because he didn't give her space in his mind during the past 3 years. He did as instructed and lied on his back. Sakura took notice of his toned chest. The developed muscles that some would envy. There was no doubt, Naruto certainly did some heavy lifting. You'd think such was the symbol of happiness. But usually, it was not always the case. She noticed the letters written like a straight line in the inside of his wrist. It wasn't just on the right one but on both. What are those? She asked, looking carefully. She held his arm. There were some marks she recognized from that of an explosion tag. She smiled. Naruto had always loved to carry those tags. If someone had said his pillow was filled with them, she wouldn't have denied it but just accepted it. Ah, those, just something that helps me imprint certain marks by chakra when I use certain jutsu. Sakura tilted her head to the side. People usually use special seal. When it comes to fuinjutsu, certain marks can be printed using chakra. Of course, it depends on what you're marking. Naruto explained lightly. Explosives. Naturally but not quite. Sakura shook her head. She placed both her hands on Naruto's abs. Felt the tight skin. She moved toward his chest and pressed in between. His heart rate normal. Her hands glowed green, and she ran them through his chest, slowly as she did. After a couple of moments, she moved onto his arms, the full length, and then went to her clipboard, and then wrote a couple of things. Can't see any problem, physically at least. Why did you want to get checked? Orochimaru and his experiments. He wasn't going to tell her that much. It was going to need some hard tests to get things done. I busted both my hands when applying these marks. A tag has chakra within it to set off an explosion, right? So, I infuse my own chakra. I did something wrong, it both wrists went boom. Healed completely. But there was a bit of a problem when they healed. The chakra points around my hands appeared blocked. I had to force them open. I don't know if that had some negative consequences. Sakura thought of it for a moment before replying. I could speak to my master to look at you. Or you could get someone with a Byakugan go look at your chakra system. The Byakugan has the best vision when it comes to the chakra system. Thanks, Hinata will do. And who is your master? Tsunade-sama. The Sannin. Yeah. Naruto nodded his head. Have you heard anything from Kakashi-sensei? Naruto shook his head. Why? I thought maybe he would have spoken to you about how we would go back to being a team again. Just like the old days. Naruto laughed. Old days, Sakura. It took a moment for her to get his meaning and then she blushed. Not exactly like old days, but you know, better. We might hear from him soon. I just came back. Need my time to rest. Well, I wouldn't complain either way. Naruto said, putting on his shirt. He got up from the bed and put a hand on Sakura's shoulder. You feel strong, Sakura. I'm happy you two have improved. Sasuke tells me you're no pushover anymore. I commend that. When Naruto stepped out of the hospital, he found the clone of Jiraiya waiting for him. He knew it was a clone. His sensory abilities had gotten much stronger since he attuned himself to nature to get hold of chakra control and manipulation. Even sensing the natural energy around. He followed the clone to a hot spring. The Sannin was giggling, scribing on a notebook while peeking through the holes of a wooden fence. He sighed, so that was how the Sannin made his research into books. And to think that the legendary Sannin was a full-sized perverted geezer. He was certainly old. If he was the one doing this, it should be expected. He was just a brat after all. Without saying anything, Naruto lifted his right foot. Jiraiya questioned. It wasn't a gentle kick that hit him on his behind. It was brutal. It slammed his face into the fence, breaking through in a heap as he fell into the pool of hot water. Ah! The loud shrieks. He wasn't sweating. It was just the water in his face. How the ladies got their towels within seconds and were already surrounding him, looking murderous, was beyond him. Pervert. Someone spat on him. He caught himself from reminding the girl that he was not a pervert but a super pervert. Their murderous intent blocked off such thoughts. He raised his hands. I swear I wasn't peeping. I was just passing by when someone kicked me. Oh, then we shall also kick you out of here. Please wait. A bruised Jiraiya found Naruto sitting on tree branch, looking at the children playing on the swings. He wanted to shout at the blonde for being cruel. Maybe he could use what he learned as material, but the blonde didn't have to kick in him like that. Jiraiya jumped onto the tree, and stood by the other side, his back away from Naruto, arms folded across his chest. Before Orochimaru came around, I used to sit here, watching the others play. Sometimes, I would try to play with them but they would go away. Or just tell me to go away. It just left me alone, he laughed. A part of me really wants to go now and have a swing. Do you think it will be able to carry me? You want to break children's toys? Well, I'm also a child. Not that kind of a child. I suppose it would be a stretch going that far. He paused. How may I be of assistance, Jiraiya? Or should I say Godfather? If you said Godfather with emotion, I would very much prefer it. Naruto just shrugged. You know that I have been making points on Orochimaru's hideouts and battle power. Yes. Well, Sensei also told me about your fellow Uzumaki. We have found her, but she appears to work closely with Orochimaru. Usually, wherever she is, he is not too far away from her. If we get her, we've assumed that she knows a lot about him. If she is captured, she'll have to spend some time with Ibiki to tell us what she knows. That is fine, she is tormenting people as well. But what do you mean if? She changes location frequently. But the next time we are fixed on her location, I will send you information. I imagine that is a mission you want to take part in. Obviously. Of course, Karen and Naruto weren't the only Uzumaki Jiraiya had met. There was Nagato. But he was dead, so there was no point in bringing him up. He didn't want to fill Naruto with hope about there being other Uzumaki scattered around the elemental nations. How goes the plan to eradicate the Sannin? Should be done. But Orochimaru has been hiding well recently. Tracking him is difficult. You hear a sight of him and when you get there, he is gone. He has truly mastered the art of hiding under the radar. Naruto frowned. So, that wasn't happening soon. He would get his hands on Orochimaru. It was disappointing. He was never comfortable with knowing that Orochimaru was still alive. That aside, he knows about our plans. And my sources tell me that Kabuto has been seen around the Kazekage a bit too frequently. The Kazekage has denied this, but we have several reports which makes it suspicious. Does Suna have a war with Konoha? No. In fact, it heavily relies on us. But there is no denying that they are hiding their connections with Orochimaru's number 2. What a chaotic world. You really cannot enjoy the calmness. It is like it punishes you for going against the natural order, Naruto replied. It is the nature of shinobi to fight. Leaders are always thinking about what is best for their nations. If an invasion is what secures their food security, they'll do it. This is why wars have been started for simple reasons. It was a world that Jiraiya had hoped to change. A world he'd hoped to bring into a hall, but he was growing old without realizing his dreams and there was no one he could pass them on to. So there could be troubling brewing with Suna. Yes. Unless we can somehow end it before anything starts. But that isn't your problem. Just be ready for a fight with Orochimaru. You are ready for him, yes. You can never be sure. Naruto replied with a shrug. And the Akatsuki? No movements as yet. But still deadly. Iwa and Sun have been using them recently. They function as mercenary. I assume neither know the true objective. They are a powerful group. Nothing about their leader. If the likes of Itachi and Orochimaru can be controlled by one man, then their leader has to be powerful, Naruto sighed. He was going to be a busy person. To be in all kinds of danger. At least we took some time to prepare. Hopefully, things don't get that deep with Suna. Don't have those hopes. Shinobi listen to power. Diplomatic talks have not always solved anything. They only come when power has done the damage. Jiraiya said in a firm tone. I understand. It was every child's dream to have a mother. If there was a way to revive the dead, Naruto wouldn't waste time reviving his mother. For he wanted nothing more than to meet her again. Her disappearing presence, though only a couple of moments, had left a permanent mark in his heart. Her warmth when she hugged him. The power of her hit when she smacked him. It had felt motherly. A foreign term in his world. Naruto wanted more of it. He wasn't obsessive over it that he would become Orochimaru. No, he had already considered his options and knew what was best and what was not. Certainly, there was nothing amoral about it. As long as the method didn't sacrifice people. His mother wouldn't be pleased to know she had been revived using such a method. How Naruto wished he could get inside the mind of the Nadaime Hokage. When it came to creating corrupted things, the man had no peers. He was far ahead of his time. Naruto released a long breath and glanced up in the sky. He wanted to stare into the clear sky, but a bird caught his attention. It was huge and a chakra construct. He didn't get up from his sitting position but just kept his stare. Even when it was charging toward him in speed, he didn't move. Wooden splinters burst from the ground around him as the large bird neared him. They moved swiftly toward the bird, ripping it apart upon contact. Naruto raised an eyebrow when it burst into blank ink. He noticed the person who jumped away from the bird as the attack struck, but he was fascinated by the jutsu he had seen. It was unlike anything he had seen before. Sai landed a distance away from Naruto, surprised that Naruto wasn't even paying him attention. It was like the blonde didn't consider him that much of a threat even though the killing intent was there. He took out his scroll, and drew 4 snakes. The reptiles formed out of his scroll and charged toward Naruto. While doing so, Sai grabbed his sword and lunged forward. Without getting up, Naruto held a single-hand seal. The ground shook slightly before a huge hand sprouted, lifting him into the air before the snakes could reach him. As they tried to climb the huge hand, Naruto stared down at Sai, while still sitting. Sai, was it? Why are you attacking me with such intent? Naruto asked casually. Sai had already stopped by now. When the hand burst out of the ground, it had made him stop because he didn't know what was going to come next. He had no intention of replying, but before he could move, the wooden hand suddenly exploded. It was by no means a small explosion. Sai was sure it would have been heard in the village if it was in one of the normal training grounds. He was forced to jump away when the shock wave caused by the explosion sent wooden splinters flying into all directions. He avoided a few that would have stabbed him. In all that, he lost track of Naruto. Which was amazing given that the blonde was walking mountain of chakra. That's enough, Sai. He recognized the voice of Danzo and then stood up straight, putting away his weapons. He finally did find Naruto. The blonde was leaning against the trunk of a tree, hands folded across his chest. His expression had not changed. He almost looked bored. It was a little insulting since Sai had attacked with the intention to kill. It is apparent that you are no match for him, and he has no intention of fighting you. Naruto frowned seeing Danzo. Return and you attract all types of vile creatures. Power attracted everyone. He should have known the moment he returned, he would be getting such visits from the dark forces of the Hidden Leaf. I thought for someone who worked with the likes of you would be stronger than this. Aside from those creatures, what more can you do? Naruto asked Sai. When no response came, Naruto spoke again. And to think I would end up saying Sakura might be better, he let out a laugh. Life is funny that way. Assassination. Danzo knew Naruto wasn't saying that Sai had been sent to kill him, but rather, it was a question of what suited Sai. Danzo replied. His skills are more suited for that. He isn't a powerhouse like you. Indeed. Naruto nodded. Yet you decided to test me with him. Why? Am I joke to you? Not many can easily deal with Sai. How you dealt with him would give me a hint on how powerful you've become. It would have been laughable if a Mokuton user had struggled with Sai. He had been a little afraid it may be the case. You could never be sure with Hiruzen. He had already seen the power of Sasuke and was impressed. And if Naruto could effortlessly do this, then there was more he could do. He already could do more before he left the village, and nothing pleased Danzo more than seeing weapons become what they should be. They could only become useful to the village when powerful. And Naruto was the ultimate weapon. Not only could he wield Mokuton, he could also use the power of the Kyuubi. There would be no other nation who could fight on par with them as Iwa did in the Third War. I see, I suppose I pass then, Naruto said casually. How can I assist you? You are a valuable asset to the Hidden Leaf. And I merely wanted to check if you had achieved the desired outcome. The leaf has many enemies who are circling around, and it will require its best shinobi to be able to survive. It was true that Danzo was always talking about Konoha and what was best for it. But only in his narrow-mindedness. It was also true that Naruto didn't know much about the man. But he really didn't want to know. He just had to know that being close to this kind of person was a dangerous plot. It may not necessarily result in bad things happening to him, but he would surely become corrupted. Jiraiya had warned him the man represented the darkness of the leaf. He wanted nothing to do with it. I doubt the elder bothered coming here just to say that. If it was about testing me, the elder would have trusted the report of his subordinate. Naruto spoke, without looking at Danzo and Sai. There are some issues I wanted to discuss with you. I have no problem with your loyalties to the leaf. However, I'm not sure if Sasuke is loyal. He has not shown interest in doing what is best for Konoha. Is that a question for you to ask? Any concerned citizen will ask. Hiruzen has not been doing his job effectively. It is what resulted in Sasuke becoming what he is, Danzo stated in a hardened tone. Can you control the power of the Kyuubi? No. Disappointing. And unacceptable. You cannot become a Jinchuriki and not know how to use its power. It is a waste of power that can be harnessed for greatness. If you have no use for it, let us take that burden from you. I will make use for it and you will no longer have to worry about being hated. Ah, so that was what the man wanted. Then again, even before he had always been interested in the power of the Kyuubi and nothing else. Of course, he was lying about his ability to control the power of the Biju inside of him. I'm not sure the Sandaime will agree to that. Besides, I would die if I had the Biju extracted from me. Your mother survived the extraction being Uzumaki. You are her son, you should be able to survive it too, Danzo stated firmly. Hiruzen doesn't have to know. At this, Naruto laughed. I have no interest in doing that, Danzo-san. Even if someone ordered it, I'd refuse. I'm not risking my life. He walked over to the war hawk. I apologize for lying, but I can use the power within me. I just wanted to hear what you would say if I said I didn't. Keep well, he added, walking away from the two. Keep an eye on him, Sai. We still do not know how Sasuke was able to achieve the Mangekyo Sharingan. We must know if Itachi has made contact with either of them. A dangerous scenario that would be. If someone like that had happened and Itachi somehow slipped, Sasuke would come after him. He didn't think the elder Uchiha would go that far, but it was a possibility Danzo could not ignore. Hi, Danzo-sama. Days of leisure. Naruto wasn't used to this freedom he now enjoyed. There were no team meetings. Nothing to do. As far as he was concerned, Kakashi wasn't around in the village. A mission perhaps. The Jonin was one of best the village had to offer. He was starting to get a little bored, so much that strolling through streets was a normal thing for him. It wasn't that it was a little different compared to the past where people glared and outright ignored him. It was just that it felt different, like there was a weight off his shoulder. While he strolled, hands inside his pockets, his mind crossing the borders of the Fire Nation, Sasuke dropped on his right side, and joined him along the stroll. Are you free tomorrow? Training? No. A sparring session. Naruto sighed. Well, he was bored and he was curious to see how Sasuke had improved. He would have to set some ground rules before Sasuke took things a little too far. Sure. Why not? I'd like to smack you around and see if you're going to be the jealous friend, once more. I would not speak so loudly if I were you. I'm not the same anymore. Well, I don't see the chip that you used to carry on your shoulder. So, I can understand you're not the same anymore. Naruto paused, frowning. He ignored what he was sensing and then looked ahead. Admittedly, I was getting a little bored. I thought you were going to request a mission. There was nothing interesting and worth taking. I see. I'm amazed you even went and demanded an interesting mission from the Sandaime. Then again, you've always had a pair, Naruto replied with a smile. Sasuke had always demanded than asked. But seeing him all respectful before the old man should be funny. How goes reviving the clan? I haven't achieved the first objective. But you're going to do that, yes. Otherwise, for what reason are you living? Sasuke really hadn't thought much about what happens after he has avenged his clan. Sure, he had stated before then that he wanted to revive his clan, but that was something he had lost in his quest for power and hatred toward his brother. And you, I heard your clan was once great. Relics of the past. Yes, I haven't thought of reviving it. I just want to live my life, happy as I can be. Naruto shifted closer to Sasuke. And put a hand on his shoulder. You know, there are some rules that apply when a clan is being saved from extinction. You can marry as many as you like. For quick thinking, you can marry 10 wives. Each with a child, you have 10 Uchiha already. And you can have your own little army. Sasuke frowned at the thought. They'd just be for breeding. Nothing wrong with that. As long as nobody is forced into it. Some people have mental challenges. If you said you wanted people to breed Uchiha brats for you, you'll find a line at the Uchiha compound. Sasuke felt a cold chill at the thought. He hoped the village wouldn't go that far. But if he was to revive the Uchiha in his lifetime, he had to go that far. It would seem unfair to some people, but that had to be done. And as Naruto said, as long as nobody was forced into it, nobody was going to complain. But Sasuke knew he wasn't popular with Kunoichi. Smiling bitterly, he said, "At this rate, the only person who likes me is Sakura." Naruto laughed. "And at this rate, she is the only one who you can think of. She is a girl who likes you very much." He shook his head, trying to imagine Sasuke being loving. It was not a working image. In fact, he scared himself thinking about it. It just shows just how much of a job you have in your hands. For your clan to be revived, you have to lighten up a little bit. I'm not saying you must start laughing. That would creep people out. I'm saying you must at least be approachable. Not everyone can be as careless as you. Continue talking like that and you will indeed end up with Sakura. The good thing is you have time. Wait till you are around 18 and 19. You can start making those arrangements. And you, like I said, I have no interest in reviving the Uzumaki clan. I have only met one Uzumaki, and she didn't strike me as a pleasant person. Then again, she was still just a child. He shook his head, smiling sadly. Well, you never know. We'll see what tomorrow holds. Hiruzen massaged his pounding head with both hands. He was getting headaches a lot more often. He worried. There was a sensation in him that haunted his nights. There were no ghosts, no superstitions. But for the immediate future, his gut traumatized. Yet refused to translate its fears into a clear image. The headache was the result of his attempts to decipher the meaning. A futile exercise. But he still persisted. Perhaps it was his death coming. He'd lived long enough. His teachers have all died. Neither lived the long life he has enjoyed. He'd already seen grandchildren. What more could he want in this life? He lifted his eyes and faced Kakashi. The Jonin stood in front of his desk with his usual mask. By the window, Jiraiya relaxed. Between the two, there was enough support that he shouldn't lose his sleep over the immediate future of the village. After all, Kakashi could still succeed him. Though present, Tsunade refused to listen to him. All she did was drink and gamble. Those were her major tasks. On part-time, she took turns at the hospital. Her students basically ran the hospital. And Shizune oversaw the training of Konoha's future medical ninjutsu experts. You're shrinking with every day, sensei, Jiraiya said, eyes outside. He worried for the old man. He was too old to be doing this job. Yet, the villagers still thought he was best suited. Old and wise. There was no war. The village was not struggling. Who was complaining? In the service to the village, the old man was going to get worked up until there was nothing left him in. I would have been enjoying my retirement if you'd taken the job when I offered you. Minato may have been alive. Perhaps it was one of those regrets that Jiraiya carried with him. They were truly a bunch of miserable people in this room, weren't they? Kakashi was worse. If they brought in his 2 male students, there was enough misery to suffocate the entire Fire Nation. Tsunade is here. You just have to convince her. Hiruzen shook his head. I've tried. Besides, this isn't something you can force upon someone. When she is willing, she will do it. That aside, Kakashi is available. Kakashi raised both his hands, already sweating. There is no need to go that far ahead. Hokage-sama is still doing a great job. Hiruzen chuckled lightly. They were all afraid of the responsibility. Yet those lusting for power would jump into the position. There were some already trying to push him out of the position already. What did you find in Suna, Kakashi? The Yondaime Kazekage welcomed me with open arms. And insisted that the Hidden Sand wishes to continue its relationship with Konoha while admitting to the difficulties it was facing. Kakashi reported in a serious tone. He would say that. What is obvious is that we can no longer trust him. There doesn't appear to be any activities occurring, but he cannot be trusted of late. The previous feudal lord of the wind was assassinated. Due to some disagreements, Suna had not had the backing of its daimyo. But over the last year, the new daimyo has been backing it. Hiruzen leaned back to his chair. It felt too big for him. I would have thought the village we would have problems with would be Awagako or the Cloud. Not Suna. It is the weakest and has always been the weakest of the Great Five. Jiraiya spoke in a hardened tone. For Suna it is a fight for survival. I will send some people to talk to the Kazekage, Hiruzen said. How many hideouts have we found? Many, Jiraiya grimaced. He has them spread almost in every country. There are certainly many that we won't ever find. It is easy to see why he can hide. There are some that were abandoned after failed experiments. Destroying them is going to take time. But simply destroying them would be a waste. We can't be sentimental about it. We must salvage whatever documents we find. Hiruzen said in a hardened tone. If both Yamato and Naruto are anything to go by, Orochimaru is bound to have done some valuable research. A product of evil, but it could be used for good. I'm interested in medical research especially. Anything else can be destroyed. Jiraiya stared at his sensei for a moment. Shizune has been busy training shinobi in medical ninjutsu. Tsunade took turns at times. But the best student was still thus far Sakura. She had the potential to even surpass Tsunade. She was a smart girl. But Konoha's medical ninjutsu would once again be unsurpassed by any village. Why have you been focused on building our medical ninjutsu strength? We have Tsunade. She is the best. Shizune and Sakura behind her. What is common with all great shinobi villages is that they need support of the feudal lords. They give us land and we provide military power. They are the political powers and with all the money. However, they remain powerful enough to force changes in our villages. Without the feudal lord supporting us, Konoha becomes crippled. Smaller nations whose population isn't shinobi can operate. They have other means to keep the village afloat. We are shinobi, and to live, we need to do missions. Shinobi get paid this way. When missions don't come, the village suffers. It is the same as a mercenary group. For them to live, they must do missions. Konoha needs to be strong enough to be able to withstand financial blockages from the feudal lord. For this, we must find other means of income. Shinobi are many. Smaller nations don't always rely on the bigger nations for protection. If we can have a capacity to be able to sell our medical ninjutsu, we find another reliable source of income. I'm exploring other avenues. Jiraiya stared. Why the sudden need to break away from the feudal lord? It isn't a breakaway, but merely finding means to be self-sustainable. Does it have anything to do with his interest in Naruto? Kakashi asked. Yes, partly. Is there something I am missing? I'll explain. Go rest up, Kakashi. With Naruto Sasuke back, I'm sure they'll want to hear from you. Hi. Kakashi bowed and departed from the office. Once the Jonin was gone, Hiruzen stared into the ceiling as he spoke to his student. The daimyo is soon going to make it public that Naruto is the son of Minato. He is already coming, and it will start from here. That is why the word hasn't already spread around the fire capital. He also wants to say he can also use the Hiraishin. Wants to use the fear for his advantage. Jiraiya frowned deeply at this. As if the brat doesn't already have enough. I don't think he'll be too pleased. I've already spoken to him. But I understand that Naruto wants to make a name for himself. He doesn't want to be known as the son of Konoha's Yellow Flash. But we don't have a choice. In this case, what the daimyo demands, he will get. Jiraiya shook his head. He wouldn't have agreed to such an idea. Then again, the daimyo would have likely gone ahead and done it without any permission. He must have been holding it because of his respect for Hiruzen. But how did he know about it? I don't know. The Sandaime Hokage slowly shook his head. How are Naruto's skills with Fuinjutsu? I don't really know. I didn't see much. He didn't really discuss. I just know that his Mokuton usage is going to be legendary. He is powerful and conducts himself such. He isn't reckless, he does make explosive tags. One thing I know he does better is making barriers. Visible and invisible. Jiraiya winced, thinking of Naruto's next thing. And explosive tags. He has his own special kunai. Unlike his father, who used his special kunai to make his tags to use the Hiraishin, Naruto uses his to hide explosive tags. What do you mean hide? I know Naruto used to carry hundreds of explosive tags with him as a genin. He hides them these days. He said problem with tags was that you could see it was an explosive. So, one could avoid it. He now uses kunai, the paper on the handle isn't written anything. That is one way to catch your opponent by surprise. I never did ask why he prefers explosions. He said while he has a lot of chakra, it is not infinite. He reserves it to making clones and his rather large-scale jutsu arsenal. Hiruzen smiled. In battle, he could always count on Naruto to take care of himself. What did you teach that brat, sensei? Just theory. It was what he was willing to let me teach him anyway. I taught him battle. The fundamentals of how a jutsu works and how to counter it. What does now is his own. Hiruzen explained lightly. Naruto. Naruto turned around and saw Ino running toward him. He stopped, and watched her slow movements. When she stopped, she seemed a little out of breath. She put a hand on her knees to catch her breath a little. She looked a bit worn out. A couple of bruises. Should she be walking around like this? Some people cared about their appearances that they would first go home and then walk in the streets. Just the person I didn't want to see. You dare say that after I just ran all the way to see you? Ino glared, her breath recovered. Well, your father had me on choke slam the other day after you passed out on me. It was embarrassing that she'd actually passed out. But the fault lay with what Naruto had actually given her. Never again was she drinking anything from his cup. She was going to buy her own drink and pour it herself. You drugged me. You had to have put something when you poured for me. Naruto laughed. I'm just going to talk to Kurenai. Come with, I'll walk you home after. He said, starting to walk away. Daddy didn't do anything to you. Ino replied, following Naruto. He told me. I was a little scared. I've seen, fathers can be rather protective of their little girls. I'm not a little girl. Yes. Yes, you're a grown woman who just can't hold her liquor. Ino jabbed him on the ribs. If you tell anyone about this, I'm never going to forgive you. Naruto smiled, rubbing his ribs. Hi, where have you been hiding anyway? I've come to check up on you a couple of times and have not seen you. You're not always home. There were people who seemed to enjoy bothering him when he was home. I have spending quality time in my old home. No nuisance or disturbances. Are calling me a nuisance? Of course not. Ino is always welcome at my home. Ino was silent, wondering if he was being serious or just saying it to keep her from ceding. It was good that she found him. He was free now, but when he became busy, he became a rare commodity you only saw when he was returning and leaving the village. Those days were going to come. And Ino wanted to take advantage of it. She did enjoy being around him. I wanted to thank you for taking me home that night. Naruto smiled earnestly. It was a warm smile that made Ino fluster a little. He could smile like that. She was happy seeing that kind of smile. Almost on reflex, she mirrored the smile, but quickly put a hand around her mouth. It was the right thing to do. I was the one who gave you that drink. I mean taking me instead of somewhere else. I was pretty out of it and susceptible. Anything could have happened, and I wouldn't have resisted, Ino said in a quiet tone. Naruto put a hand on her shoulder and squeezed a bit. Just be careful next time. People are not always kind. Some people will take advantage of you. I know, Ino said with a nod. I've seen things myself. But at least I was with you and know that with you, I'll be safe. Ha, Naruto chuckled lightly. Naturally. If you don't have a problem. We can do it again. But this time, with Shika and Chuji. You are my friend and I feel that you need to get along with my other friends. Nothing would make her happy than having all her friends with her. That sounds nice, I'll tell you when, Naruto replied as they made it to the training ground. You coming from a team meeting? Training session. A lazy one since Asuma-sensei wasn't around. Shikamaru and Chuji bothered to push because the other teams are moving up. Competition. Ino shrugged. I lost to Sakura. I quit competitions. She said carelessly. Naruto laughed. Now that is sad. You want me to give you a pat on the back? Watch it, Uzumaki. Naruto raised both his hands. Her improvement is just remarkable, ain't it? Well, I haven't seen anything. But she took good care of me at the hospital and I could tell she had grown. A pity, not her chest. That's where I win. Her forehead should have grown bigger. Naruto laughed once more. This is the problem with you clan children. You are only able to learn clan techniques. And no matter what you do, we always know there is a step you'll never climb. You'll always end up somewhere. Well, unless you're blessed with a bloodline. Your chances become better. Yeah, but I'm not really interested in becoming the best kunoichi. I just want to be better with my clan techniques. You know, I'm already starting to learn from my father. We are the only ones with the ability to be able to read people's minds. Daddy does it better than anyone, that's why I want to learn. Just don't end up reading the minds of your friends. I'll spy if I think you're lying and need to confirm it. Well, at least my mind is protected. Nobody gets in here, he said, pointing at his head. How so? He just smiled. Secret, he said, putting a finger on his lips. I was wondering when you would crawl onto our training ground. Ino looked ahead. She'd become so focused on Naruto that she didn't even realize they'd reached the other team. She was starting to lose it. She needed to get hold of herself. Kiba had not changed. His voice was still loud. An annoyance. Her eyes stared at Hinata. The Hyuga had always been big. Even when they were still genin, she had a bigger rack. No wonder Sakura was always envious when they visited the hot springs. Kurenai was alone, under a tree. The girlfriend to their sensei, even though they tried to keep it a secret. An open secret. Are you two dating? Kiba spoke again, snapping Ino out of her thoughts. And what if we are? You got a problem with it, Kiba-chan. Akamaru barked at Naruto. Whoa, he exclaimed. Now I can't make fun of you anymore. Ino shook her head and then walked over to Hinata. Kurenai hadn't thought that Naruto would come to her. His disappearance had stopped what would have been some useful training sessions. She ended up having a couple with Sakura and taught the girl some genjutsu before she moved on to learn under Tsunade. When he came toward her, she felt his presence. It was hard to ignore. He had that aura around him. He was going to become an intimidating person. No, if he could give off this vibe when in normal situation, in battle, he was certainly commanding. She smiled. He'd grown. They'd all grown. Kurenai-sensei, Naruto greeted, sitting across her. Naruto, Kurenai smiled. I'd imagined you wouldn't be coming here anymore. Yeah, well, I must at least apologize for disappearing the way I did. I was really looking forward to learning more from you and annoying Kiba a little more. He does react quite funny when pressed. Kurenai giggled slightly. He did always do that. But that was because he knew how people reacted to certain situations. He had certainly observed and studied those around him to know what ticked them. It is fine. The Sandaime Hokage told me what had happened. Good then, Naruto said with a clap on his hands. The few things you taught me did help. I must admit, I found it difficult to do genjutsu. But detecting it and removing it has become second nature to me. That was your main goal. And I'm not surprised. You have an immense amount of chakra, it was always going to be a difficult task for you. Yeah, well, during my time away, I stumbled on something. Genjutsu effectively deals with invasive chakra. And once you expel that chakra, you're free from that chakra. But I've been exposed to some genjutsu that you cannot escape from. Even if you are aware. While on my training, I stumbled on something. Hallucinations. I came across a flower with a substance that causes hallucinations. The danger about is that once you inhale it, the hallucination doesn't stop until it wears off. How long? A minute or so. Naruto replied with a shrug. It's a large-scale jutsu that requires a lot of chakra. So, not something I'll end up using often. In any case, I just wanted to apologize and thank you for being willing to help me out. He said earnestly. It is my duty to help out those in need. Not everyone is willing to help, Naruto said, standing up. Thank you, once again. No problem, Naruto. Seemed like you were getting along just fine with Kurenai-sensei. Ino said with a stare. Hinata was just beside her. The Hyuga looked a little mature. She wasn't turning red already. I do get along just fine with Kurenai-sensei. She is quite delightful, Naruto said, stopping in front of Hinata. He smiled. Hinata. Naruto-kun. I need a favor from you. The Byakugan can see chakra pathways more clearly. I need you to check the pathways around my arms and see if they are normal. The chakra system was a fundamental part of the body. A flawed system meant there would be problems. A damaged system meant the end of a shinobi career. It was also something that could not be fixed easily. It wasn't like body muscles that could regenerate when cells multiplied. Is there something wrong? Ino asked him. No, but I want to be sure what is happening. Hinata hesitated for a moment. It was the first time Naruto was asking her for something. She felt happy that he would ask for her help. He didn't go anyone else but came to her. She smiled and activated her Byakugan. She scanned Naruto's body and knew why he wanted to check her out. What surprised her the most were the seals in both hands. They appeared to be directly connected to a chakra point around his elbow. How that was even managed was beyond her. What do you see? Everything is normal except for 2 points in both hands. They are bigger than normal. Hinata paused, wondering if she should add. The other chakra is also leaking into your system. Naruto sighed. Nothing unexpected. But it is a good thing nothing is wrong. The expanded points were causing a slight imbalance, but I have it under control. For a while, I thought something may be wrong, he said, sounding relieved. Thank you, Hinata. Hinata wanted to say it was a pleasure, but he was already facing Ino. She didn't say anything but only smiled when he turned to her and then waved with a smile. It was almost as if he had seen that the smile in her face slipped. As they walked away from the training ground, Ino stared at him through the corner of her eyes. What did you do to make her like you? Ah, I forget everyone knows about her crush, Naruto said in thought. I wonder, perhaps if you can tell me why you're willing to walk with me in the streets with clothes that are slightly cut, when you normally won't, I'd be able to tell you. Why indeed? But Ino didn't want to think about it. She didn't want to answer it. It would lead to some uncomfortable thoughts. On second thoughts, I'll walk by myself. Just like that. Yeah, just like that. I need to fetch something from the flower shop anyway. Ino basically ran from him. She stopped and then turned. You're going to tell me when the day is right to go out with my team, right? Sure. Sasuke winced silently after crashing into a tree with his back. His eyes shifted ahead, sensing movement. He was forced to switch into his Sharingan when he saw a kunai flashing toward him in disgusting speeds. But with his Sharingan, he could watch it all the way. What made him activate his Sharingan was the lunging blonde. He didn't move with the kunai aimed straight at his forehead. He only shifted his head to the right, in a quick movement. The kunai blasted past his head. He felt a wave of sharp wind touch his hair as it moved past. The kunai pierced through the tree, leaving a gaping hole. If he had tried to block that with a kunai, he would have been in trouble. A second later, Naruto jumped at him, spinning in midair. Sasuke's eyes fixed on the blonde as his right foot cut through the air in flashy movement that would have been blind to the naked eye. He had to admit, the speed in which Naruto attacked was impressive. Nothing a Chunin could dodge against. And his physical strength made taking constant hits from him undesirable. Naruto thought he hit Sasuke right on his temple, but the Uchiha burst into a log. His foot crushed the log, splitting it in 3 pieces as it crashed to the tree. He landed on the ground, and a second later, the pieces of the log fell behind him. Disgustingly infuriating. To realize that without activating the Sharingan his options were limited. Sasuke glared toward Naruto, hidden behind leaves deep within the trees of the Forest of Death. Naruto in battle was a beast. The blonde was unrelenting. Worse, his mere presence unnerved you. If he'd gone this half-heartedly, the mere act of Naruto standing still while ready for battle would have discouraged him. Smaller people wouldn't try to fight Naruto. Sasuke was not a small person. The fact that he was even having such thoughts infuriated him to no end. He took a breath and then jumped from the tree, while switching to his Mangekyo. It was out of frustration that he was doing this. There was no holding back, but there were ground rules. For the moment, he just thought, screw ground rules, he was going to put Naruto in his place. By the time Sasuke landed on the ground, he was surrounded by dark purple chakra. A humanoid structure. He added more chakra, cursing as he felt the power of Susanoo crushing his body under its weight. He hid his pain, gritting his teeth, under the mask of indifference. Naruto raised an eyebrow seeing Sasuke use his powers like that. He would have raised his hands and demanded time out, but he became curious seeing the Susanoo. A truly fascinating jutsu that made him want to summon something and just pummel it. But he held himself from taking any action, instead, watching the jutsu under a cautious gaze. The Susanoo was a beast. His curiosity turned into alarm when Sasuke smirked. The half-formed jutsu created a bow and an arrow. Immediately, Naruto went on the defensive, holding his hands together. When the arrow was released, Naruto sweat a little. The speed was lightning. If he hadn't already been doing hand seals when Sasuke released the arrow, it would have been dangerous for him. It was coming straight at him. No doubt, certain death if it hit him. That was not a jutsu you used in a sparring session. Mokuton, 3-way wooden wall. 6 wooden pillars materialized from the ground. They locked together, forming a timber wall. 2 more behind it were supposed to form, but Sasuke's arrow was far quicker. Only one formed before the arrow collided with it. It pierced through the wall, sending wooden splinters flying as it marched toward its intended target. Naruto twisted along with gusts of winds as the arrow marched toward him. It just zipped through, right around the left side of his chest. It would have cleaned his arm offhand had he not moved it behind him. He watched through the corner of his eyes as the arrow collided with a tree and then exploded, bursting the tree. His eyes went back to Sasuke, who was standing on the one wooden timber that remained standing. Are you trying to kill me? If I wanted to kill you, I would made it a little faster. Naruto sighed. At least he avoided that. But, not without a cut. He glanced at his side. Ripped clothing. A cut that was already closing. I thought we said no, Susanoo. I got a little frustrated at the stalemate. Sasuke admitted. And you won't attack me but choose when to attack. I'm always the one who has to move. It is called strategy. You have the Sharingan and it can predict movements. I would rather not feel so small that you would predict all my movements. You were just going to end up dodging and blocking, unless I became faster. Letting you attack gave me a chance to counterattack. Playing at my strengths. What do you say, we go all out? Naruto held up his hands. If we do that, it would cause panic in the village. There are bound to be explosions. We should not go that far. Perhaps one day when we are far away from the village. We could go ahead. Not today. Fine, let us continue. Naruto lunged forward, and so did Sasuke. Sai hid behind a tree, watching with admitted shock, not showing his face. Those two were not opponents he could face. Their speed a blur, and chakra output something many dreamt of. Danzo was going to be pleased in knowing that Konoha would have more powerhouses. But yet, nothing people he could face head-on. The raw strength of Naruto would just knock him back. And Sasuke's fluid movements would be too quick for him. Those were the type opponents you killed either by poisoning or assassination. When his sixth sense rang the alarm bells, this after both Naruto and Sasuke had suddenly disappeared from where they were fighting. He knew something was off and jumped to the ground. The second he did so, the imposing form of Naruto was standing in front of him. The blonde's eyes were so sharp, it made him take an involuntary step back. The potent chakra that ripped through his heart made him took a couple more, but a fourth caused him to stumble and then fall. As he fell slowly, the image of Sasuke came into view. The Uchiha had somehow sneaked behind him. He fell on his behind, hands spread to the side. What do we have here, Sasuke? A rat that has been watching us. I should have created a barrier. But when you're home, you become too comfortable without even realizing that there could be an enemy from within. Naruto said in a cold tone. He took step forward, and stepped on Sai's right foot. In response, Sasuke stepped on Sai's right hand. Sai didn't flinch. His expression didn't display anything. But inwardly, he was panicking a little. The expression Naruto was giving him made him afraid that he may be killed. If this was a mission outside the village, he would have been prepared for death, but this worried him. They were Leaf Shinobi and he wasn't doing anything wrong. Could they have some hidden agenda? Did he see something he wasn't supposed to see? But how had they noticed him and when? He had been carefully watching their movements. They couldn't have coordinated this attack without him noticing it. Your rats have been watching us. We don't appreciate it. Sasuke actually kicked Sai on his temple. Go back to your master and tell him we don't want to be watched. We will not be merciful next time. You might lose your eyes if you get caught again. The Sandaime will forgive us for thinking you were a spy. Sai merely nodded. When they freed him, he stood up and then finally spoke. I'll pass the message. Once gone, Naruto's eyes turned to Sasuke. Really, Sasuke? He asked, his eyes softer, an amused look on his face. Kicking him out of frustration because you couldn't smack me around like a ball as you'd hoped. That was rather childish of you. I don't need to hear that from you. Naruto shook his head. At least we don't have to worry about you taking on Itachi with your current skills. You're smarter now and don't just rush in. It is good. I don't feel like I'm talking to wall now. Sasuke didn't want to compliment Naruto. He just stared back his teammate for a long minute before finally swallowing hard. You've gone on the pace I thought you would. A balanced shinobi. I wouldn't have anyone else as a rival. He managed to sneak out those words out of his mouth, with a hint of jealousy. Naruto smiled, shaking his head slightly. He put his hands inside his pockets. Let's go back to the village. I need to eat something. Let it not be ramen. It is still morning. I wasn't going to invite you. But since you're a lonely cat, I'll invite you to my house for an energy meal. The question of whether what the Shodai thought of seeing his granddaughter and only living descendant becoming what soon it has become was irrelevant. The man was dead. They were at the present and could only draw inspiration from the past. If only that could be used to get Tsunade to toe in line and use her abilities for the better of this village. Well, at least her medical ninjutsu knowledge was becoming useful, but she could still play a vital role as Hokage. Jiraiya sat across her. She glanced at him with tired eyes and then stared the saucer she held. "You brought something nice." Jiraiya shook his head. She was most likely talking about the sake from the land of the toads. "You can ask Katsuyu to bring some for you," he said. "I didn't come drink tonight." Tsunade gulped the remaining alcohol and placed the saucer down. "You look troubled," she said, resting her arms on the table. "Circumstances compel me to be troubled. Konoha might face danger soon. I don't know when it will come, but from whom it is known. Once Orochimaru found out that we were coming against him, he decided to plot against us," Jiraiya said in a serious tone. "Unsurprisingly, if someone is planning to attack me, I'll do something to defend myself. For Orochimaru it may just also be payback for not giving him the position of Hokage. He is probably still bitter about it. He wasn't happy when Sensei put Minato as his successor." Tsunade laughed at this. "It surprised me. I never thought he'd do so. He was always blind when it came to his beloved student." "Not anymore." Jiraiya released a long breath. "Sensei is really taking a lot, Haim. He is already too old for the position of Hokage. We should be relieving him of his duties. And you're not, because if I become ground, who will take over my network? Besides, you're suitable to be Hokage. Of the three of us, you were always the one who was sensible." Jiraiya smiled, sadly, thinking of memory of the past. "I'm not interested. If you keep bringing this up, I'll stop talking to you, Jiraiya." The Sannin became quiet for a moment and then spoke. "I didn't come to talk about that. It is about Naruto. Minato's son." Jiraiya nodded. "What of him? You already know about him and Orochimaru. We don't exactly know the full extent of what was done to him. We want to understand his body. He told me that there were some changes in him that he felt. It hasn't been negative, but if there is anyone who understands the human body, it is you. Sensei is asking you to look at his body and see him. Just so we don't have to worry about him." Jiraiya pleaded with emotion. "Is he your student?" Jiraiya shook his head. "No, he trained himself. I just helped there and there." Tsunade nodded. "How long is he with Orochimaru?" "A couple of years," Jiraiya responded grimly. "There is one of the lab they used to use for Mokuton research. It could also be a good medical research. Naruto's regeneration abilities are beyond normal. His body heals wounds in rapid speeds. We want to know if it has no adverse effects on him." She would not bother, but Jiraiya was begging. Besides, there were many who sought to have that kind of ability to quickly regenerate from wounds. She wanted to see just how well he healed and how his body reacted to such an ability. "Fine. Thank you, Haim. I will send him to you," Jiraiya said happily. "You owe me, and is there anything else I should know? Sakura told me a lot about him. But I want a different angle before I meet. You'll know about him when you meet him. He is a good kid, just a lot stronger than a normal kid." Jiraiya chuckled. "Minato would have been proud. Even if I were to raise all chakra to maximum levels, I wouldn't scare him. And we are not talking about the Kyuubi's chakra." Tsunade raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious? He is still just a brat." "You'll meet him." Tsunade nodded, and poured herself another drink. "There might be future for him if he isn't your student and corrupted by all that peace talk. Your last students died in their quest for the peace you preached. And Minato followed as well. If he is powerful, it is better he isn't your student." Those brutal words bodied Jiraiya hard that he discarded his desire not to drink. Naruto only had short pants while at the back of his house, staring expressionlessly at the crow cawing. There was a barrier that surrounded the house. At night, he kept it up because he didn't want any surprises. With everything that the Sandaime told him, it was best to be on the safe side. With Danzo also lurking, ensuring that no one sneaked into the house while he slept was a necessary precaution. There were also valuable scrolls within the house that needed protection. He decided to go back inside the house and the crow followed him inside. He went into the underground room and settled in a meditative position, eyes closed. In a puff of smoke, Itachi undid his transformation. He looked around the room. A basement like one in his clan. But this one's walls were marked with strange masks and scrolls on the shelves. With his Sharingan, he could see the walls were marked by a barrier. Where Naruto sat, there appeared to a large amount of chakra flowing. Most likely a storage seal that supplied power to the invisible barrier. He sat down. I'm just a clone. So, I won't take much of a time. The fact that you can sneak into the village without alerting anyone means that you most likely still registered in the barrier or you just have a way around it. But given that former Leaf Shinobi are able to pass through it without alerting anyone, the former seems likely, Naruto said without opening his eyes. What do you want? You only tolerate my presence because I have come to you with options that help Sasuke. And that I really don't feel the contempt Sasuke feels for you. You interest me in any case. Naruto added. But I get the impression that you love Sasuke. You may have done what you did, but the question is why did you leave Sasuke? It was because you loved him. And as you show now. Itachi nodded. Naruto still didn't open his eyes. It wasn't that the blonde was afraid of being tapped into genjutsu. He was focused on something. He could see chakra flowing around the blonde. Was he supplying chakra to the barrier? There is a bit of a problem at my end. There is someone who recruited me to the Akatsuki and he is likely the same person who attacked Konoha on the night you were born. He is an Uchiha like me. He wants to recruit Sasuke into the organization and I feel that if he feels that I am no longer of use, I may not be able to face Sasuke. If I die before I face Sasuke, their likelihood of him approaching Sasuke increases. I do not want Sasuke to abandon the leaf. But there is a possibility that he will. Something that I keep from him will be told and it will be used to lure him into the organization. If I do not become honest with him, and stop lying to him, he may fall. Sasuke is highly emotional and can be manipulated easily. Naruto's right eye opened for a moment before he shut it again. He had known something was up. The talk with the Sandaime had informed him as much. There was some sort of secrecy and it was so deep that it could end up making Sasuke hating Konoha. Naruto wished he'd never met Itachi. He just wished he didn't have to ask himself such questions. Indeed, Sasuke can be manipulated, but he has improved. Of course, if something pushes him, he can be given a quick shove. This is why I want to face him. I made my own choice. I have always led him. I want him to make his own choices. But I want you to understand that I've always fought for Konoha. And if Sasuke were to attack Konoha, he would have to be stopped. Itachi lifted his cloak, and a crow flew out. Naruto's eyes opened and watched the black creature. It landed on his right shoulder and he noticed its eye. A Sharingan. What is this? Shisui's eye. It has a powerful genjutsu that can manipulate a person without them knowing or anyone knowing. It cannot be undone by anyone. I want to give that to you. I cannot give it to anyone else. You're the only other person in Konoha I talk to. If not careful, it falls into the wrong hands. That man also wants it. Itachi closed his eyes for a moment. Danzo has the other one. Nobody in the village knows. Not even the Sandaime. And you didn't say anything because. Reckless from Itachi. What if Danzo used this on the Sandaime or him for that matter? If I had said anything, it would have led to bloodshed. Sometimes we must keep secrets in order to protect what we value. Naruto snorted. Same principle with Sasuke. I'm not fond of the way you people do things. Our lives could have been better if you people didn't think it better to keep the truth from us. You want to decide for us. Let us make our own decisions. We always think we are making better decisions. But things have not exactly been right. He led his brother into a dark path. I'm telling you this about Danzo, not because I want you to tell anyone. Danzo remains important to the village. I worked under him and know him well. I'm telling you this so you can use it against him. Kakashi may not have said this, but the danger of using the Mangekyo Sharingan is that it deteriorates your eyesight. Eventually you become blind. There is no cure. The only way to get over it is to implant the eyes of your closest relative. In this case, I would need Sasuke's eyes. But I don't know if I will be able to give Sasuke my eyes. If something happens to me, I have already programmed my eyes to burn. For Sasuke, my father's eyes are available. After the Uchiha massacre, Danzo collected the eyes of those who had already awakened the Sharingan. Use the information I gave you to get them from him. It should cure Sasuke. There are some valuable weapons that I want to give to you, but I just want to know again. If Sasuke ever attacked the Hidden Leaf, what would you do? He is your only friend. Would you betray that friend to protect the village that has hated you? You ask difficult questions. But it has to be obvious. Naturally, I would try to stop him. But if he cannot be stopped, I'm a leaf shinobi. Itachi momentarily smiled. There were no lies. He could see it. He had already seen it before. After all, he had been observing the blonde. But he had to ask. For his peace of mind. Before I give you my tools, I want to show you something. You will decide from there whether if Sasuke chose to attack the leaf, does he need to be stopped or not. Naruto was silent for a couple of moments. Do you have to show me anything? I would rather be ignorant if it can be helped. You're Sasuke's friend. I have never been there for him. If I get to tell him the truth, only you can be able to understand. I wasn't supposed to say anything. But the man in the Akatsuki is going to tell him anyway. And he believes I want. To control the narrative, I have to act before he does. Fine. Following day Tsunade stared at Naruto for a moment and then shook her head. He was an imposing brat all right. No, could she even call him a brat? He didn't look comfortable being in a lab, sitting on a bed. Having flashbacks. Yes, Naruto admitted with a laugh. Last time I was in a setup like this, I didn't have a pleasant time. Sorry to have to do this to you. Tsunade took his right hand and then cut him with a kunai on the palm. Wow, this is going to be interesting. I'll need to draw your blood first and then study it. Would be interesting if I can get a piece of your flesh. Jiraiya already explained it to you, yes. He did. But he didn't say anything about taking chunks of my flesh. You're going to heal, aren't you? Tsunade said carelessly. Sorry, she apologized. Don't be. I find your honesty refreshing. I'm not that of a child that I'll be flinching over this. Besides, it is for my own good, isn't it? Yes. Naruto held out his arms. Let us see what your teammate did to me. He didn't tell you. Naruto shrugged. Rambled about a lot of things. Senju and Uchiha being one formally. And that the Uzumaki are rumored to be related to the Senju. But nothing confirmed. And then there was the talk about the Sage of Six Paths. He and Jiraiya could have a good debate about the man. For Jiraiya, a monk who preached peace. For Orochimaru, a god in all sense of the word. You think Orochimaru wants that power? I think he is curious to see if that power can be achieved. If it can, then truly, the stories about the sage are more than just a myth. But he wants immortality first. And sometimes just does research and experiments to confirm his hypothesis. He does a lot of things he discards. But the ultimate goal is him. Then again, if you see Orochimaru's true self, you'll freak out. His true self. He is literally a snake. He conducted experiments on himself. I saw it after getting a little bit angry and the Kyuubi filled me with its chakra. Went crazy and destroyed his hideout, killed a couple in that angry spree. Took a swing at the snake, which forced him to reveal himself. Sounds like it was eventful, Tsunade said, putting a needle on his arm. She drew his blood. Now for the hard part. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.